I want to quickly take maybe 5 minutes in terms of creating a frame of reference so that everybody has a common frame of reference as we split into the groups. So what is entrepreneurial opportunity? How to spot them? How to assess them, whether they are the opportunities which are worthy of our effort? This word, so what, has been used twice. Once by Mr. Begin himself, and second by Harry. And I never realized, I made my slide much before that, the talks on technology is intellectually stimulating. But us entrepreneurs ask the question, so what? What does it do? What can we do with it? How does it change our lives? And most importantly, what difference can we make using these knowledge of this technology and trends? It is the innovation and entrepreneurship that makes a difference. We found this chart very interesting. The research converts rupees into knowledge, hopefully. Entrepreneurs take knowledge and convert them into value. And there is a third dimension, and that third dimension is investor, and they take the value and convert it back into rupees. So if you see this, knowledge, value, role of entrepreneurs, and the wealth which is actually created by the total eco-cycle. And that is what really is the journey that we have to go. This is from a report from UK, Bright Sparks to Brilliant Businesses. So what is an entrepreneurial opportunity? Entrepreneurial opportunity, go top down from left hand side. Fundamentally is innovation to meet needs which generate profits. How do you do that? Identify a newer way to generate value by creating newer goods or services that address either a known or a latent need of a large enough set of people who one can then, who will be willing to pay the price, and therefore one can create a sustainable enterprise and generate profits. So what are the characteristics of such an entrepreneurial opportunity? It has to be timely, that is, it has to meet a current need. It has to be solvable. It has to be viable, and it has to be doable. It has to be important. Enough number of people should be valuing the product or services. It should be profitable. At the end, costs have to be lower than the price that people are willing to pay. And the context has to be favorable, in the sense that whatever you are trying to do must have a societal acceptance and a feasibility in terms of the societal and customer acceptance. So I create, as you have been sort of hearing us say since morning, is in the next generation entrepreneurship. So what is this next generation entrepreneurship? Next generation entrepreneurship is doing new things, or doing things better, or doing things at lower cost. What do we mean by that? Doing new things is new technology, new products, new services, like arrival of mobile phones. But you can do things better, making a battery which goes inside a mobile more efficient, which would last longer, give you longer talk time, is a way to improve the existing technology and make it much more customer friendly, much more viable. So you can improve things by either improving the quality of the product, performance of the product, looks of the product, or the user interfaces. And you have seen great amount of value created through use of improving products through any of these things or combination of these things. Or in our Indian context, doing things at lower cost, when either through production efficiency or use of different materials, use of new technology, you are able to substantially reduce the cost. The classical example that I use is Arvind Eye Hospital created an intraocular lens which used to cost $60 to $80, now is available for $6 to $8, and it's done right here in Madurai. So in the morning you saw this chart in a different form. Hype versus economic impact. More hype does not necessarily mean more impact. And hype versus impact on a logarithmic scale has been mapped by McKinsey, and so this is the report. And so you have to be able to really segregate what is impactful from what is just largely talked about. So Sunil insisted, I am not very proud of these examples, but at least there is a way to get started. Sunil insisted I should give you one or two examples. So I thought very hard this morning and put this thing up. If the Internet of Things and if a car is sent for service, now generally speaking we wonder when the car, whether the person who is doing something on our car, is he doing the right thing? Is he attending the problem that we talked about? Has he attended all the problems that we have mentioned, blah, 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 blah. If the car was able to tell you through Internet of Things and cloud computing and mobile computing and whatnot, what is happening to the car right now, right? It would be a different world. And so you would be able to imagine this new world. The most important thing that we have used as a line in terms of even promotion of this particular seminar is immerse yourself in the future of possibilities. I repeat, immerse yourself in the future of possibilities. Knowing this technology and trends and what is going to happen creates a future, and if you are able to immerse yourself in that future, you are able to come up with much more creative, identify much more lucrative potential entrepreneurial opportunities. So what's the task on hand for the group? The task on hand is, we are using this exercise to draw on your collective experience, knowledge of problems, and knowledge of desired outcomes, to be able to explore the emerging trends and technologies so that you are able to identify opportunities for innovative applications. This hopefully will be able to create some kind of an understanding of some goods or services that could have impact, possibility of profit, and employment creation. The attempt is to encourage free flow of ideas and foster collectively and iteratively innovative thinking so that we are able to identify potential entrepreneurial opportunities leveraging each of the technologies that we know. 5 teams that have brainstormed and identified innovative opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities. We're going to request each group one by one to make a 3 to 5 minute presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am very much thankful to iCreate and particularly Dr. Madhu Mehta for inviting me to lead the group on robotics, autonomous and near autonomous system. In the group, we are around about 18 people. I distributed the particular slip that whoever is interested in the area, and that's how we have narrowed down into 4 or 5 different groups, and they had a discussion among them. So we had different 5 areas that the group member who has identified. One is industrial robotics and automation. Second is about the transportation. We have 2 groups. So healthcare, and the 4th group is on home automation. So the first group talked about the industrial robotics and automation. 1 or 2 people, they were from the industry, so they had an industrial problem. So one of the issue is the welding. Right now we are very much short of the welding operators, and it requires a highly skilled operation. So the production is an issue. So can we have a welding machine which can do automation in terms of doing welding autonomous, so that the production is faster, the production quality is improved, and the cost of the production also goes low. So that was one of the thing. The second thing is then we had a thought of that if automation is to be there, particularly in the civil engineering, there is a less automation, and that's how it takes certain times to come out with the buildings and infrastructure and so on and so forth. So one of the another issue is the brick manufacturing. Still the brick manufacturing is happening in a mode where you require the labor. Labor is an issue. So can we have a system which is autonomous brick manufacturing, starting from that you just have the ingredients, and at the output you have the brick available to you in a stacked manner. Even the loading and unloading of the trucks also happens in an autonomous way. So that is the idea that we proposed as a part of the industrial robotics and the automation, the group. The second was on the transportation. So the student group, they were just entering into the domain, so they were saying that, can we have such kind of system as a Google car? But then I said that, is it possible to have it in India, and particularly in Ahmedabad? So it's not possible. So, but to start with a small concept, they have come up with the idea that safe distance measurement, that if I'm running at a certain speed, And then certain people have a kind of a habit that they will put a brake at the end. And then if something happens, then what will happen? So it's a automation kind of stuff that if you're running at 80 kilometers per hour and you have a safe distance not available, the system will automatically decelerate even if you wish or not. So that's what is the kind of thing. Even on the highway also the system can be implemented. Particularly in the healthcare, prosthetic arm kind of stuff. So that we have the prosthetic arm, there are possibilities that we integrate with the regular arm. We need to carry out a surgery. But then that surgery requires a lot of expense, number one. Number two is that you have to intervene with your regular system and you are disturbing the system. So instead of that, you have the prosthetic arm, which has a mechanical characteristic, electromechanical characteristic. I can do that also. Most of the time it's a pick and place kind of stuff. So can I have that my left arm, which carries out the action, the same action on the mirror image is being replicated by the right arm. And for that, I need to have this system to be electromechanical. That is there, it is being connected over there. But then the action which is to be done is being carried out by the right arm or a left arm, whatever is the case. And that action is for the communication. Technology exists, integration is required. The fourth is the automation in the transportation. This is a wild idea. I come to across the whole group. Now we people are moving from one place to another place. We need a driver, suppose. And we want to avoid the driver. So here it is a kind of thing. The concept comes from the students or the people or children, they are going to malls for driving the car. So you have in front of you a mirror or an image or screen, using that you are driving it, right? So similar concept, on your car you have the cameras. That camera is available to the service provider at some other end, and the driver is sitting. So the driver there will be looking at your system, okay, and will be driving your car looking at what is there in front of his screen, which is the replica of what you are at a physical actual location. And that will be now providing you as a service of driving. The driver is physically somewhere else, maybe sitting in Ahmedabad, and maybe driving from Jaipur to Delhi, okay? So the portal or a virtual car driver is a service, and then the driver, you are driving from Jaipur to Delhi, you are staying there in Delhi for 3 days, your physical driver need not to be there for 3 days with you. Once again you are back from Delhi to Jaipur, the virtual driver will be driving for you from Delhi to Jaipur. So that's the kind of technology exists. Technology exists. The integration has to be done, and as in the morning we were deciding, government policies has to be approved. Yes, so this is a really wild idea. Technology exists, the integration is required. The Google car is there, but we all know that the Google car sensors still are very costly. So one of the student has proposed that we can make use of the ultrasonic sensors instead of a LiDAR or sonar-based sensing, and the microwave or RF-based sensing. We can make use of the ultrasonic sensing. That's how we can come up with the low-cost sensing. The last idea is regarding the home automation. We are always short of the maids available to us. So one of my student, our group, we have already developed one physically disabled or challenged people, a wheelchair car. Even it was reported in the Divya Bhaskar also, that the car is for physically challenged people. The good part of it is that you provide the AutoCAD drawing to the car for your home, and then you have your mobile smartphone available to you. Just you touch that, I want to reach to my home, this particular location, and the car will lead to you over there. So it's a smartphone application integrated with it. The second application of it, what we had is a terrostatic in Taj. Okay, if you have a floor planning given to that car on the AutoCAD drawing, it is always there nowadays. Okay, you provide it and you tell that it has to reach to room number 203, and it will carry out the task. So that's what is. Then the home cleaning also, right? In the home cleaning, you have the same car, the same platform. You provide the AutoCAD drawing for your home, and then you instruct that this particular area of the room is to be cleaned, and because you have everything given as a data to the system will take care of it. And the security monitoring also, so the same robot can do the multiple tasks at the same time, given the different tasks to be carried out. So, and again, at our place, what we have developed is, oh yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for giving the attention.
3D printing, Dr. Praveen Nahar.
So good evening, everyone. We had a small group on 3D printing and advanced materials, and we could not do too much with advanced materials, but we kind of integrated, and we got few opportunities within 3D printing, touching up advanced materials. So basically, these are the technologies, and we got 3D printing advanced material as a this thing. And those of you who don't know about 3D printing, it is additive manufacturing. You create your own sort of 3D model in a computer. You sort of print it layer by layer, and you create a 3D model. So any physicality of your surrounding can be actually created by 3D printing. You can see the possibilities which this technology offers, from personalized products to the prototypes to to any combination of materials. To a lot of things are possible to be made. There are services available in this. We explored a lot of domains, from vehicle, medical, food, games and entertainment, looking at do-it-yourself, pop-up culture, a little bit touch upon defense and fashion and retail, what probably will happen. I have my teammates, they will also come and show you the opportunities. These are the immense opportunities, from body parts to the lamps to whatnot. You can print new forms and new ideas. This is our group, the nice cozy small room. The whole idea one is looking at is how 3D printing will evolve in future. Today it is used for prototyping, but this will probably bypass the culture of manufacturing, and the more control will go to the users. Or manufacturing will happen, but maybe service, after sales and all that will come to the users. And from directly from idea to the end user, there is a direct connection. So all of us have printers at home, which are 2D printers today, will be replaced with 3D printers. So we came out with several opportunities. Many of them are products, and many of them are services, and a combination of the two, and some very innovative ideas which probably, so we looked at what can be done now and how this technology will evolve, and when it will be in the peak, and what kind of services will emerge in future. So I'll invite Raj from a group to take you through the opportunities.
I'll take on the products that we revisited, and we thought of how we can define and create new products at our home. One of them was pre-structured parts of buildings. Like in India, we have a lot of time constraint, space constraint, and as well as labor constraint. So to counter all that in single stroke, we thought of having pre-constructed parts of buildings which are pre-designed as per the requirement of the architects or else the customers, whichever preference they require, and we just have to assemble them on the site. So it's very basic thing to do that, because a lot of pre-constructed buildings are been done in US and Europe. It's on large scale, but none of them are done by 3D printing. So 3D printing eliminates all the environmental problems, labor problems, as well as the cost effectiveness. Second product we took was the parts of electronic gadgets. Like a lot of Indians are facing problem replacing the parts of their electronic gadgets, and they have to constantly go to the manufacturers for them. But if they have a own 3D printer at their home, which is very simple and it's very cost effective, as 3D printers are available, as I said, at around 30,000, 40,000 rupees these days. So you can have a own printer at your home, and you can print their electronic parts, and you can replace them easily. The next is spare parts for household products. Like household products break now and then, and again the same problem of going to the manufacturer, which can be replaced. The next thing we thought of was design your own customized garments. Like garments, Indians are a little bit obese in terms of buying garments, so we need a perfect fitting garment for ourselves. So again, we can design according to our specific requirements, color, design, cut, whatever we want, and we can have our own clothes. The next thing we thought of was to generate edible food products. Like a lot of food is wasted not only in marriages and functions, but also in households. So a lot of companies are coming up which collect the waste from households and from the marriage functions and other functions where the food is wasted, and they distribute it among the poor and the needy. But what we're thinking of is developing a product which can be edible after degrading the waste food to its most basic level of nutrients and proteins, and cultivating a new powder which can be, again, according to specific dyes, can be converted into biscuits or something which is edible. So again, it can be a mass consumption product, but again from recycling waste. So that's from my product parts. And then next will be covered services, which will be covered by Dhruv. Thank you.
So I'll just quickly tell you. I mean, see, we envision a future where each of you will have a 3D printer. So compare it to, I'll just give a very simple explanation. Take an iPhone and take the App Store. So we envision a future where the iPhone is your 3D printer which you have at home. And say, suppose you have a juicer mixer grinder, okay, and some spare part gets damaged. Now you wouldn't go to the supplier and get that part. You would print it yourself. You will log on to the website of that company, say Bajaj, and Bajaj will provide you an STL file. You will print it, you'll print that part at your home, and you'll attach it to your mixer, and it will work. So this is like a complete revolution in the case of 3D printing. Another thing which we looked at was exporting, offshore design. In the sense, what happened to the Indian software industry? Companies from the US wanted software to be done, and India used to make low-cost software, and it provided software to companies in the US. So that is what will happen for 3D printing as well. We will provide design supports and customized design services which will cater to printers which are present in the US as well as in the different parts of the world. And another thing which we looked at was, as was suggested by Sir, that managing these different networks. I mean, a printer may be lying idle in, say, Australia, and someone wants to print something. So he can get it done in Australia and get it shipped to the US. So these were the customized design services we specifically looked at, the services we could provide. And another brilliant idea which we came to was, say, this is like slightly unrelated, but related in the sense that you have a lot of food grains which are wasted, okay? So why not process those food grains, add the go downs, and send it to homeless people. You could have 3D printers which can actually manufacture rotis if you just give it flour. So we could come out with these brilliant innovative designs in these fields. Yeah, so that is basically what we looked at.
Yeah, just to conclude, I think one of the great innovative thing which is in the green here, actually what happens today is you get things and which you make and you dispose. And at the end of life cycle, there's a huge heap of garbage which needs to be dealt with. There's a lot of mess which comes in. And so if you're actually now re-evolving the technology and going into the future, whether 3D printing materials, raw materials, could be programmed in a way that they're smart enough, which will live its shelf life, and it will come to the closed loop. So the whole idea of sustainability and cyclic nature can be inbuilt into this technology when it will grow in future. So we'll have material innovators, maybe in Ahmedabad, will be making and taking something like this forward. So basically, the whole sort of gathering actually evolved around talking about democratization of design, production, and distribution of products, and basically evolving new products and services. Thank you.
The task was to look at next generation genomics, healthcare, and life sciences, to harvest ideas. And the team was very enthusiastic. We screened sort of 15 to 20 ideas, and I had the tough job of making people a little bit grounded, because the idea should ultimately make money, and that too in a 5-year time frame. So it should not be like a science policy kind of a thing where government would invest for a certain number of years and something will come out at the end of 20 years. Not like that, but entrepreneurial ideas. So it's a tough job to always do that. But I think after that, we did come up with a whole bunch of interesting ideas. In fact, idea generators were collaborating with each other, sometimes challenging each other, but ultimately refining the idea. and coming out with, I would say, ideas which can make money for some of them. In one case, we even thought that the idea generator should go out and write a patent before it gets out of hands. So the first idea, which evolved through a lot of debate, is a medical history band. It's a very simple idea where, let us say we start with that group of people who are 60 plus, let's say, meaning you have entered that age group where at least there is a risk of having some chronic diseases coming in 5 to 10 years later, or maybe you're already having them, and you are on some medications. You have had a history of either a surgery in the past. You obviously are very clear by now about what your blood group is, what sort of allergies you have, etc. And you would be carrying this in your in a band which you are always wearing. What medications you are on now or in the past, what blood tests or other tests you have had in the past, they will all be remaining in your band, so that God forbid you have to go to the hospital or you have to go to the doctor. The moment you go there, this thing which is predominantly in ASCII code can be connected to any computer, and you would be able to, the doctor would be able to have access to information. And if new procedures are carried out on you, that information goes into the health band. So that is the medical history band. The second is a service which is designed for the challenges of our country, where not everybody is in the urban areas where you have access to pathology lab services, for example. So the idea originated from this simple concept that everybody can get malaria because mosquitoes are everywhere, and the only simple test is that you make a blood smear, look at it under the microscope, and see if malarial parasite is there within you or not. The municipal hospital which is connected to your village, your remote village, may be carrying the anti-malarials, but because anti-malarials are toxic, you don't want to put yourself on these without having a test done first. So this service is a microscope, and even a 10th grader can be trained to use make a smear and put it under a microscope and send the slide, if he's not trained already, send the slide through a mobile app to the pathology laboratory anywhere, and the outcome would be read by a professional, and then the subject can be put on anti-malarial. Color changing bandage. This is a smart bandage which carries certain chemicals in it, which would change color only if the bandage has got a high microbial load in it. And if the high microbial load is not there, then the bandage is good enough. So if your child or you yourself are suffering, then you go to the doctor for change of bandage only if it is required. Saras is, I'm forgetting the full form now, even though I helped designing it.
Semi-automatic robotic assistant for surgeon.
Correct. So this is as you described, it is a robotic arm, but it is not the Da Vinci type of thing. It is more of a realistic Indian need where cost is important, and yet the doctor can benefit, optimize his services by not having 4 or 5 people just handing things out or holding things in the patient, inside the patient, so that the doctor can do his job and his assistants can go assist others and save money for the hospital, etc. So this is not a very refined robotic arm, not your high end, but it is still enough robotics which can be designed at this point of time by what we have in the public domain and help the doctor. This is a what do you call it? Point of care PCR based infectious diagnosis. Again, this is very much like the slide leader service here, that you want to design PCR machines which are handheld, which can work with strips, which can work with a drop of blood, and have enough computing power within themselves to be able to come out with an outcome in a short period of time, say half an hour to 1 hour, and are rugged enough that they can work in any part of the country. To be able to initially detect infectious diseases where a decision can then be taken as to what to do with the patient, and ultimately as it gets more and more refined, get into other diseases as well. Biopolymers is a entrepreneurial idea which has been put across by GSBTM as an area of concern that we are close to marine microbes because Gujarat is a coastal area, so some parts of Gujarat. So you have access to microbes which are known to produce a variety of biopolymers that have multiple industrial applications and healthcare applications, and somebody should take this up as an idea to make money with. Thank you.
I'll quickly summarize the energy sector. Won't take much time, I promise. So thank you. We had a very great team. 45 minutes just flew by, which we knew wasn't going to be enough. We suggested ideas, we debated. We also came out with policy recommendations, right? So anyways, we won't get too deep into it. Lots of ideas thrown in, broadly classified into 4, and then one with others, very specific ideas. So one set of ideas was about residual energy, which means you have a silencer which heats up and that heat is getting wasted. So you can do something with that energy, put a thermocouple, generate electricity, charge your battery. So these kind of ideas were thrown out. And this is waste to energy, let's say, we can also say that. So this this is a topic which is of interest even to researchers. Here we need to look out for the efficiency of the process as well as the economics of the process. Next big thing is human power, right? So when we move, the idea was, can we put some kind of an actuator in our shoes? So the moment we walk, something compresses, something rotates, you generate electricity, you can charge your mobile. Something of this sort could actually happen. Air resistance when in vehicles. So when you're going in a car, can you stick out a fan? The fan rotates, you generate energy, right? This could be done. You can charge a battery. Windmills at the side of a road. So when the moment the cars drive by, you're generating that extra wind. Can you use that wind energy? So these are the kind of ideas. Bicycle dynamos is something which is common, but lately we are seeing more and more innovation in these bicycle dynamos also. Then the next one was very generally, energy from intermittency. So this is a word I've tried to coin. It's not the most accurate word. But let's say you're going in a car, you stop at a red light, and you're still burning fuel, right? But you're just standing there. So if that energy is going waste, can you do something with that energy? So that opens a lot of questions. Another thing is when a machine is decelerating, right? You're actually losing energy. You break it. You actually use energy to stop something, which actually technically is not making any sense. The technical term is called regenerative braking. So when you want to brake something, you put another motor with it, let's say, very, as a layman I can say, you put another motor to stop the first motor, but when the second motor moves, you're generating energy, right? So regenerative braking, this actually what I described was physical, but electronics can also take care of this. So this is intermittency. Another very bright idea somebody threw out, and it was something that was being tested. You have speed bumps, right? You first hit brakes for speed bumps. Can you actually, instead of those speed bumps, can you use these rubber tires, let's say, which are filled with wind? The moment you go over it, it pushes out the air, and you can run a little wind turbine, right? Something of this sort. Next is secondary markets, and this was actually thrown out. This is also open to innovation. And this is more like second-hand items which are actually coming out from somewhere from other countries, which you can maybe refurbish. Now, one of the problems was our policies, they do not support it. For example, in solar, I know this, that we always stress on new equipments. But can something be done? There is a gap because there are resources which we're not able to use, right, when you can use it. So this is somewhere, even maybe a policy innovation could probably work. but definitely some innovation, some refurbishing, some technical support can actually work out. And then next is, ideas like small nuclear plants, magnetic perpetual machines, variants of evacuated tube heaters. So these are also being thrown out. So there were a bunch of ideas. The ideas are good, need to be maybe refined. A lot of these ideas, they need to be validated. And people said that we need help, we need support in the procedures, we need support on the technical side of validating their models, and we also need financial assistance. So, and then the other was even government partnerships. When we do something, let's say even for the refurbishing windmills, if you stress on it has to be new, it doesn't work. Even if government can come out with some kind of a vision where the innovations can work hand in hand. So this concludes it. Thank you.
Let me request Pankaj Gupta to...
Good evening. So I had a very common topic, which was mobile internet, Internet of Things, cloud security, cloud computing, and automation of knowledge work. And it's very common, most of you understand the topic. I had a large group, and we deliberated on the, the largest group. Thank you. Can I have the presentation up? So, and it was very actively participated. So the methodology we adopted started with a problem statement that we are facing, and then identified 5-6 ideas, and thereafter prioritized them in terms of their social, economic viability and impact, and the money it can generate for the entrepreneur. And that is how my slides are colored red. Red are the ideas that have been shortlisted for further, they're found to be more impacting things. So mobile internet, the ideas were, can we have micro payment systems in India, which can eliminate ATMs and business correspondents and all kinds of things? And that's one idea which has been implemented worldwide, but India still needs that. Some regulatory changes might have to be done. But a very good idea that came up was of search engine for equipments and goods that you have in offices, stores, and homes. People miss them, your specs, your mobile phones, your USBs, and lots of things. So can we have some kind of a search engine, some kind of an application? So that was rated as one which is very much required and could really do. A single application provider, you all use mobile phones and you download multiple applications that your friends advise you. Can there be one single service provider who charges you and based on your profile downloads all the applications that are available to you in the market? So that is another idea. The mobile device usage control. This is an important thing. What we are talking about in regulated spaces like auditoriums, aircrafts, or public places where you want, put up the signboards, but then you are able to control the usage of the device only from a communication perspective, not reading into the mobile. I see this as another good opportunity where regulators and a lot of other people would be interested. And the best idea in the mobile internet was uniform application and operating system platform. You heard about Androids, you know about Apple, you know about Symbians in Nokia. So they have deliberated, created their own silos, but the point is, can we have a single operating system and a platform? This is going to be a breakthrough technology, and this is one of the ideas which we found will be very useful. Coming to the next, automation of knowledge work areas. I think what we're talking about is auto-processing of data to knowledge, and simply put it, the teams felt that call center responses, if you have a problem, call up a call center or help desk, and the moment you speak out your problem, based on the algorithm, the system is able to respond to you rather than going through a set of other questions. And this definitely involves a breakthrough technology in terms of voice recognition systems. And the complexity gets added with the different accents, different pronunciations in the country. But this is one application area which can definitely have high value in the country. Aadhaar cards we all know, and an idea came up is, can we have a single smart card, not multiple licenses, ration card, passports, and all of those. So we put it as Aadhaar cards version 4, 5, whenever it comes in. The three ideas that found a favor was stock management, be it medical stock, be it food stock, be it everything that has a shelf life. And the whole thing was managing the shelf life, creating an ecosystem of stores and data marts, and the traders are able to trade depending on the leftover life with the cost. And that is going to really deliver a lot of savings in terms of economy, products, but more importantly, generate value. And just to give an example, a medicine expected to expire in a week's time probably would sell at 10% the cost. And that's the we are talking about. Algorithm as a service is very high value adding. It's talking about creating intellectual property. You create an algorithm and different applications depending on the user needs can be done, and licensings can be created, and algorithms can keep improving. So that's the idea that has been come. In education system, we have seen computerized checking, but if you look at it, it's only objective. It's ABC 1, 2, 3. But every academician agrees that there is a need for subjective examination as well. And that is where can we have an application that can do subjective assessments. It primarily means scanning of the answer sheets, handwriting recognition, and then a fuzzy logic to interpret and match it with the right answer, because everybody will not write the same language. So that was on the knowledge. And the last is Internet of Things. The whole subject has come into being with the sensors that have become cheaper, precise, and available in plenty. And we are talking of remote management of sensing devices. 3 application areas. Healthcare. We heard Israel has a lot of medical devices. We are talking of one application that can control feeds from all the devices, and then present an electronic health profile, feed it to a professional for a further refinement. And this is definitely applicable for all kinds of diseases, critical, some kind of lifetime diseases kind of things. We're talking of similar systems for infrastructure, be it water, be it roads, be it whatever it is. Security, access control. Rather than becoming negative that you can or cannot, it's about monitoring what access is happening. So that's the remote management using sensing devices. They're way cheaper. And the application is also in agriculture sector. The humidity of the soil, the chemical contents of the soil, the acidity of the soil. If those data are remotely transmitted, some expert advice can be delivered to them. We are talking of preventive and predictive maintenance of machines. Now, machines, if you had seen the movie called, what was the movie? Minority Report, it talked about predicting human mind. Well, we are still far off from that, but we thought machines who have a predictive behavior can at least be predicted and prevented, and some kind of preventive maintenance can be done. One of the ideas that also came in was, can we use our old phones as data feeding devices? That will definitely control e-waste. So I think these are some of the ideas. They'll need some deliberation. I'll request my team to please get up at your own seats so that people get a feel of it. And I want to personally thank each one of you for a brilliant educating experience that I had, and I'm sure we'll take it to a long way. Thank you very much.